Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to most of you. We are topping things out here at 97 participants, so that's great. My name is Sue Diamond, and I'm the moderator for this session. And in this session, we will hear from some seasoned seat specialists, including a veteran, about the importance of seating in sports. So please join me in welcoming Kendra, Joe, Chad, and Brent, who will each tell you a little bit more about themselves. Kendra?
Great. All right, Sue, thanks for the introduction. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right, we are ready to roll.
I should have added, we are going to monitor the chat, but we're going to answer the chat questions at the end of the presentation.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for the introduction, Sue. Welcome, everybody. Looks like the masses are rolling in. We have over 100 folks on the line, expecting a mix of VA clinicians and our adaptive instructors, and most importantly, our veterans who are eagerly awaiting just more opportunities to engage in our Winter Sports Clinic at Home event. So we welcome you. Thanks for coming. The at home event has gone great these last 2 days. And we are excited to share what we love doing best, and that is working with our seating team. So we are going to do sit down and stand out adaptive sports equipment recommendations for seated athletes. And we're going to jump right in with an introduction to the team that we work with. My name is Kendra Betts, and I'm a physical therapist with the VA. Have spent my entire career in VA since 1993. And I have the honor of leading an amazing team at the Winter Sports Clinic. This is the motley crew. I won't go through and introduce every single one of them. You'll meet a couple of them here today. But we are a group of physical therapists, occupational therapists, orthotists, prosthetists, rehab engineers, equipment specialists, adaptive coaches, quite a blend of expertise, and each person brings something unique to our event to help our individuals who are both seated athletes, which we're going to hear about today, the importance of getting folks dialed into their equipment. And we also work with all of our veterans with amputation who use a prosthetic limb to participate. And shameless plug, we'll be talking about that particular topic tomorrow, working with our veterans who use prosthetic limbs. So jumping right in, we refer to ourselves as the Seating and Prosthetics team at the National Disabled Veterans Winter Sports Clinic. And we're going to hear from a couple of our speakers who are going to help me get through some really useful information, at least we think so, because it's one of our favorite topics. I introduced myself. Again, I'm a physical therapist, and I have to plug, my first Winter Sports Clinic was 1997. So it's been a long time that I have had the privilege of being involved in this event. Many thanks to Teresa Parks for supporting everything that I pitch out. And she's like, sure, Kendra, we'll support that. It's a great idea, at least most of the time. And I do have to give a shout out to Sandy Trombetta, who was the director ahead of Teresa, who also embraced all the great work that we're doing and really supported me to build an amazing team and services, not only for the Winter Sports Clinic, but for some other VA adaptive sports events as well. So thank you for that, Teresa, and we'll go ahead and kick it off. So
Kendra, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
Can you share, you've got your presenter view on there, so we can't see the slide.
I wonder why, okay.
Those 3 dots right under the poster.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it.
So if you look where the poster is of Brett, there should be 3 dots.
I have a full screen mode. So, okay, I see it now. And now It wants hide presenter view.
Yep. Except now you've got your slides on a different screen.
Yep. How's that?
Perfect.
Is it showing full screen now?
It is, thank you.
Fantastic, thanks. I'm glad we sorted that out early. All right, I'm gonna toss it over to my dear friend and colleague, Joe Bogonic. Would you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Joe Bogonic. I am an orthotist, and I'm the president of Aspen Seating Ride Designs, and I've been doing seating for quite a few years. And my first Winter Sports Clinic, where just totally changed my life, was in 2005. So I guess not as old as what Kendra is at this, but I am older than her. So, but just really taking a huge interest, orthotic style seating, and just applying this to every sport. There's a lot of wheelchairs and just having a blast doing it with sports. So,
Great. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
absolutely.
All right. Then you'll hear more from Joe. This is yeah, definitely his area of expertise, and it's been great to have him on the team at the event for many, many years now. Chad Kincaid, would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Chad Kincaid. I am a certified prosthetist and physical therapist. I started with the VA in 2008, and that was my first year participating with the Winter Sports Clinic as well. That's where I'd known Joe for a long time, but that's where I met Kendra and got involved with this crazy crew. But I'm very excited to be here. I've been involved with adaptive sports seating, and then bringing and helping people with prosthetic limbs for sports since that time. So thank you.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Chad. And I have to highlight before we introduce our next guest is I show the picture of the poster boy here because without further ado, we will bring on the Winter Sports Clinic 2021 poster boy, Brent King. Would you please introduce yourself?
I think I look better with the helmet on. But I was injured in 1994, and Kendra was my first therapist. I went to my first Winter Sports Clinic in 1995 at Crested Butte, and Teresa Parks was a volunteer there. I believe, if I remember correctly. And but I've gone through as a T12 paraplegic and now a double hip disarticulation. Also, I've gone through all the different seating gamuts, from the simple seating to the very detailed seating. So I would not be skiing without this seating crew here. So it's something I can do with my family. And I'm currently the executive director for the Northwest Paralyzed Veterans of America. And so that's what I do for my daily thing. And I love to ski, just love to ski.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Brent. And Brent did highlight his initial injury in 1994, and we have known each other that long. So I started my career back at the Seattle VA, and Brent was with us for a number of months, and we have been participating in sports and having a great time ever since then. So thanks for joining us, Brent. We really do appreciate your expertise as we're heading into this. Great to have you, and always great to work with you. All right, as we jump into this, you guys can kind of see there's Brent lined up there. I promise the entire slideshow will not be of Brent, but this is a great shot of him and his custom rig out on the mountain. And this is what we want you guys to take away. You know, whether you're a veteran or a clinician working in VA or an adaptive instructor with one of our community programs, we want you to understand, you know, what are some of the priorities, the highest priorities for providing seating interventions for sports equipment, to be able to discuss why skin protection is so critically important for the population of veterans and athletes with disabilities that we support to participate in the seated position. And then we also want to have just a discussion about who needs custom seating. When is that indicated? Why would we go in that direction versus using some off-the-shelf situations as well? So with that, we're going to go into kind of our first question. And this first question is going to go to Joe. And Joe, just wanted you to share some ideas with this diverse audience of what is seeding anyway? A lot of folks ask me, are you saying seed like an apple seed? And we're really not. We're saying seat like a seat you sit on. And so Joe, tell us a little bit about what is seating.
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, you mentioned seating, and everybody thinks that you're driving a farm implement. So you're absolutely right. It seems like just about every time you're explaining it's seating with a T. And you know, to me, you know, seating, it all comes into just the first and the foremost is it's safe skin. Because if you're sitting into something and if you don't keep safe skin, you're going to be out of the game. You know, and that's the biggest and foremost. And then from there, you know, over the years working with this team and everybody else, it's like we've really learned how to dial that in to really look at the rest of the hierarchy, which is to do with stability. It's stopping the unwanted movement, and the best position for the sport. You know, just really identifying what position really helps maximize the best posture to get the most out of whatever injury level that is. And that's really, that's kind of the hierarchy.
Mhm.
And the other thing I wanted to add too is that seating for me is the expertise of just that, just taking care of that. There's so many people out there that understand the rigs, everything else that goes on there. I don't adjust any of that. I'm not the expert in that field. We always stay within our expertise. So seating is mine and I refer out for the rest. So.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. And as Joe was talking, we kind of, in real time captured some of these key issues of why we provide seating for sports. Protecting skin is so critically important, postural stability, all of the aspects that you see listed here. As many of you know, participating in sports is not always super comfortable. It can be, and it doesn't need to be uncomfortable, but depending on what the goal is for that athlete, sometimes, it's a relative priority of where we need to be in the scheme. Brent, I want to go to you and with your, your firsthand expertise of using custom seating systems in your everyday life and all of your sports. Do any of these particular areas resonate with you? Anything you'd like to add?
When I'm done skiing at the end of the day, I'm warm. I've been snug in the ski. The seat typically breathes. So the moisture and the friction stays away from my skin. And if I'm snug and I'm tight in that ski and my skin's protected, I've had a great day. I can ski much better. The ski responds to my movements when I connect to the ski better. So, and that's what Joe's clinic has provided me.
Yeah, really great. It's a great idea. The great concept that we're connecting the person, that human person, and whatever their shape is, to the rig that they are participating in, to the piece of equipment, so that they can have control, is what I heard Brent say as well, and be comfortable and warm and have a great day. So these are just taking a look at some of the surfaces that we see in adaptive sports equipment. So this is looking down inside what we call the shell or the bucket of a monoski. This is looking inside the bucket of an ice sled. And this is just an attempt. This is an insert that goes inside. This was for a monoski shell, and you can see the attempt at trying to provide postural support and skin protection. And man, oh man, that's a lot of moving parts and pieces that are not likely to stay in the right place. So this, as you're looking at these surfaces, your reaction should be, good gosh. We would not want to seat an individual with a sensation challenge, for one, with a skin challenge, or anyone that needed support and assistance. This is not going to work well with those bolt heads, digging into that sitting surface. We're looking at, these are challenges in seating systems that are likely not going to hold up over time. And we want to share with you some examples of what we do at the Winter Sports Clinic and how it supports the athlete in their year-round participation in their sport of choice. And so these are some examples of where we think we can do much better. All right. So what we do at the Winter Sports Clinic, so all of us have some expertise and obviously a lot of passion about this topic. At the Winter Sports Clinic, we do a clinic to kick things off early in the week to understand people and get them set up in their equipment. So Chad, can you give us an overview of who are the individuals that we like to see referred to our clinic at Snowmass?
Sure, and I think Kendra and I were talking about this on Sunday, going, we should be at the clinic doing our clinic on Sunday this week. So I really missed it this year. But the first one is that we're looking for veterans who are in their own adaptive sports equipment that may need adjustments to the seating. And then we can do, brief assessment and looking at what do they need as far as skin protection, postural stability, those kinds of things. The second thing that we try to look at, there are veterans who have current or previous challenges with their skin or previous skin issues that we need to make sure we're protecting them while they're at the clinic. The last thing we want is for someone to go out on the hill with a bad seating situation and then come back with a worse skin issue or the start of a skin issue that they didn't have before they got there. That's really the last thing that we want to do. We also look at very experienced athletes that might be trying a new piece of equipment with a new shell that they're not used to using, and trying to get them lined up so that they're able to use that piece of equipment well. And then the last thing looking at people that, and this is something we've started doing in the last few years, is working with patients that now want to try to participate on a prosthetic limb, where in past years, they maybe were encouraged to 3-track, or they were encouraged to use a mono or bi-ski. Now these people are wanting to get out on their prosthetic limb and ski, and so that's a part of our clinic as well.
Yep. Absolutely, and thanks, Chad. That was a great overview. These just some examples of live indoors with that clinic when we see folks all day, which is the day before we kick off the winter sports clinic, when we're out on the mountain and out on the ice. And we're evaluating folks, and you can see Joe down here on the bottom right, evaluating an individual where we're making adjustments in his personal equipment. I'm evaluating one of our veteran participants in the upper right, with really understanding what's going on with this individual's hamstring length and how does that tie into the equipment setup, because all of it is really important. We do not work alone with just our team or one of us as an individual at that event that day, but rather we are coordinating with our colleagues across the system day in and day out. So we're communicating with our therapist colleagues, our physician colleagues, all of our providers at the VA. We're working with the manufacturers, with the adaptive coaches, and just kind of showing that it really does take a team. Most of you who have been involved with the Winter Sports Clinic, either as a participant in the past or supporting as a coach or a referring therapist, know that we are in touch. We are in touch ahead of time. We're gathering information. We want to know as much as we can about this veteran athlete before they arrive, because sports is a year-round event. It's not 1 week out of the year at the Winter Sports Clinic in Snowmass. We view ourselves as kind of providing a service at a point in time where we can really support you. So as we're looking at this realm of folks that are involved with supporting an athlete with a disability, I want to go to Brent. And Brent, if you could just highlight some of the folks that are supportive of you back at home base, and how does that tie into our work with you at the Winter Sports Clinic?
The Seattle VA is my biggest one for my seating specialized equipment, and they communicate with Joe between PT, OT, rec therapy, and it's just a team effort. It's usually be conference calls. Right now it's been Zoom calls and whatnot, but once we coordinate everything, then they can either do it in clinic, or if it needs to be super specialized, I can be sent out to Colorado for seating.
Yep. And when you say sent out to Colorado, so with your very custom seat, you have traveled to the Denver, Colorado area to work with Joe and his team, correct? 3 or 4 times now. Yeah. And that's usually a multi-day event, and it's a commitment. It's a commitment.
Oh, it's very detailed. They get very detailed, and they make sure it's working for you before you leave. Absolutely. And then they're there on the hill to dial it in. Mine's always been a work in progress, because bodies change and weight fluctuations, all sorts of stuff. So great. Thanks for that. 1 leg, 2 legs, I just keep throwing parts out. Yeah. Losing body parts. And Brent or Joe, going to you, how do you work with the team back at the home VA to gather information about the athletes that are coming to visit you, or that we're working with at the Winter Sports Clinic to provide some adjustments? How do you interface with that group of people?
Yeah, so typically email or a phone call, and then we have an intake sheet that helps us just gather a lot of information and get everybody on the same page, so then we can provide a quote for the services. Once we get a purchase order, we just help. Sometimes it's even just help, just lining up other equipment that has to go with the ski, or different vendors for that. And then once everything gets in, it's scheduling the veteran in to come in for the fitting. And depending upon what's all involved in that, we usually guess pretty closely as far as what the days are. If you do come out for a ski fitting, it's summertime's easier to get in. Once it's ski season, it's pretty much it's not going to happen. It's a pretty busy time of year. However, either spring skiing or just early season is really great, because you can get out. We have some great ski programs here where you can get out and get out on a hill and try it before you head back home, which is bonus, which is real bonus. So great.
I'm glad you brought up those timelines, Joe, because here we are. We're heading into April, and I'll tell you, the best time to start pursuing adaptive ski equipment of any kind, if you're appropriate for that, and we'll talk about that later in the session, is in April and May and June. And in order to do all the coordination and get everything set up for the following year, too many times we hear from folks around Thanksgiving when we all start thinking about, I am ready to be out on the slopes. And it is a very complex process for a lot of folks. And if you approach it that way, you're likely to get into your equipment right as the season is over. So
Yep.
great comment there, Joe, about jumping in early.
Yeah, September, honestly, September, it's already starting. So that's
Yes.
how early it gets winding up.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that, guys. As we move into, what are we looking for? And I'm going to go to Chad with this one. When we are working in that indoor environment and evaluating clients before they're out participating in the Winter Sports Clinic and all the amazing activities, what are we looking for, and why is it important?
Sure. You've got a nice list here, but in general, we're looking at that body size, range of motion, strength, posture. One of the biggest pieces of it is understanding the skin and the posture and the patient's balance, because we want them to be balanced over whatever ski that they're going to use so that they can be dynamic when they're out on the hill and be able to control that ski.
Hello? Hey.
Someone's on
Hello?
mute.
Oh, yeah.
Whoops.
So
Hey, Karen S. out there, if you could mute, that would be fabulous. Thanks.
So you
All right,
really
go
want to
ahead,
get
Chad.
people to balance on their rig that they're sitting on so that they can control it well and participate well in the activity that they're doing. So, we're trying to get them so that they're snug in their seat, just like you'd want your ski boot to fit. If your ski boot's too loose or has a pressure point, it's not very comfortable, or it can cause you problems and you can't control it very well. And so the same kind of thing applies here with what we're doing with trying to fit someone in a ski.
Yeah, great overview, Chad. And what it allows us, we gather a lot of information. You can see the evaluation components that really play in, and then we can mock up some systems. So we're looking at, what's the best configuration? What are some seating system supports? We do have kind of a step-by-step process that we go through to kind of get an individual set up in a dry land environment so that we can make sure that we're addressing most issues before we spend a whole bunch of time and eat up their lesson time by getting things dialed in. We can do, 90% of it ahead of time and then get them really dialed in, working very closely with their instructors at all times. So this is kind of the indoor environment. And then what's really important is we got to take it outdoors, right? So from the indoor environment, we are not, in snowmass and at these events or at the beach just to hang out indoors. But I wanted to share, just kind of what our work day looks like at the snowmass ski area. Sharing the docks. So for those veterans and staff that have been to the Winter Sports Clinic before, this is our stomping ground and where we do our work in terms of getting those skis set up. Each of those little slips, the instructor can bring the athlete right into each slip, and we can then be out on this dock and have a stable platform most of the time to work with. And so some days, it's a beautiful sunny day, great weather, and we're able to just jump in there in a fantastic environment to do our work outdoors, which is always a blast. But some days it actually looks like this. And so in Colorado, anything goes. So literally from one day to the next, you could have a change from bright sun and 60 degrees down to dumping snow, or actually just could actually be the same day, or maybe even the same hour, right? where we make this transition from dumping snow to sunshine and back and forth. So regardless of what the conditions is, we got to get the work done. So you can see why we might do as much as we can indoors. And then we take it outdoors. And if this is what the hour looks like, we get our work done and get everybody dialed in and make adjustments as needed. Chad, as I'm transitioning to the next topic, tell us about, why is it important that that we as seating and prosthetics team members get out on the mountain with these athletes? What's so important about seeing how they perform on the mountain?
Well, I've learned so much from being out there in the environment with people, where you could think about it in your clinic, you can think about how it might work, but until you actually get out there and see what it's like on the ice or on a snowmobile or on a run skiing with the person that you just did a seating intervention with, so that if something's not right, you can make an adjustment right then and there. And those are the kind of things that really make this just such a rewarding thing to do with people. to be able to make those changes and see what it's like out there actually doing the sport. And then you also see their reactions to it when someone is successful, like Brent. I remember this past year when he came in, or the previous year when he came in and was like, nope, I don't need you guys this year. I got everything dialed in. That was the best feeling to hear that from him, and all credit goes to Joe, but man, that was an amazing thing to see here last time.
Well, the
Had so
real
much
story
spare
there I have
time.
to share, because I was going to share that. The real story was, we've spent a lot of hours working on Brent's custom seating system because he has some unique needs. And I always block out a big chunk of time. And I looked up and there he was, and I didn't have him on the schedule. And I looked at him, I said, oh, I don't have you on the schedule. And he said, because I don't need anything. I'm all set. Let's go skiing. And I really love that. So.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know what to do with all my spare time. I had too much time.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
man.
like, Brent's
I'm
all done.
that
What do we do now?
Yeah, now I'm
Great.
feeling bad.
Exactly. So, going to, Brent, you participate in a lot of activities. I just wanted to highlight on the left here, one of the activities at the Winter Sports Clinic where we provide seating support is snowmobiling. And this individual has a high level tetraplegia. So he has paralysis from the neck down, and we're able to provide a really nice seating system with some customized supports to keep him safe while moving at fairly fast speeds on a snowmobile. We want to make sure, first and foremost, we're keeping our athletes safe so that they can focus on having a good time and learning some skills at the event. Brent, would you tell us what else are we seeing in some of these pictures? What are these activities? I know that you participate in a lot of them.
Sled hockey, cross-country skiing. Then we've got scuba, there's fishing. Boy, there's so many things you can do there, but the seating wise, the hockey and the cross-country ski is a little, if you get into the racing, you can use more basic stuff. But if you're getting into the hockey and the other ones where you're captured in there for quite a bit more time in the cold, then you guys are the trick for getting us set up with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are the 4 events that my team, our team, collectively supports at the Winter Sports Clinic. So we support snowmobiling, sled hockey, Nordic skiing, and downhill skiing. It makes good sense that we don't necessarily support scuba diving because you guys are not wearing custom seats in scuba diving, but the scuba diving team is fabulous, as is our rock climbing team, and every activity that we offer. And so we make sure that all of your equipment is provided. For example, we have a wheelchair curling event, and we make sure that folks have, appropriate footwear on the ice so that they're not slipping and are prepared to be on the ice, whether they're in a wheelchair or wearing a prosthetic limb or wherever they might be. So all the support that you need will be provided at the event, and we all work together to make sure that everyone is doing great. Okay, so we're going to work a little bit backwards. Typically we start with, the opposite of custom seating, but since we've been talking about, Brent and his setup and his needs and how involved some of our work is, I wanted to highlight, that we communicate with our colleagues. Joe talked about it, I talked about it, Brent talked about it, leading into the event and then after the event as well, because there's a lot of coordination with working on seating equipment and getting everything dialed in. And so again, we're just a moment in time for that 1 week of the year where we try to get as much done as possible. So I'm going to take this one to Chad. Chad, if you could go over what are some of the reasons that an individual might need custom seating in their adaptive ski equipment?
Well, the first one I can think about is protecting someone's skin, but we'll follow you along here. You don't have to be a racer. Everybody thinks, oh, well, you need all these custom interventions if you're a racer, but you really don't have to be a racer to need those kind of interventions to be successful with your skiing. Someone who is skiing on a weekly basis or skiing on a very consistent basis, it's really important to have a good fit for what they're trying to do. And then, we talk about skin challenges. If someone's had an old pressure sore that we need to be concerned about, then, that's something that custom seating might be an answer to be able to offload, I'm not gonna say offload, but relieve a certain area so that they can be successful without over pressurizing an area that can cause them trouble. If someone has a pretty significant postural deformity that's preventing them from balancing properly over their ski and being able to engage the ski with a turn, that person might benefit from having some custom interventions in order to make that work well. And then limb loss is something that, you think about prosthetic interventions, but somebody like Brent who has a very high amputation with a hip disc or tick on both sides, we need to be able to support that person so that they can actually not fall out of their ski and be able to turn their ski appropriately and able to support them where they need to be supported.
Yeah, great. And we'll demonstrate what the custom seating process looks like. Thanks for those comments, Chad. Brent, talk to us with your custom seating system. What kind of changes in your body structure indicate a change in your custom seating system? I know you've gone through a lot of adjustments, and what have you had to do along the way to make that work?
Well, with the bone infections, I had amputations and I just had my pelvis left. So I didn't know if I was going to ski again. And then they said, oh, by all means, we'll try to make a seating system for you. And it's been trial and error, carving, padding here and there, and then shoulder straps, front chest piece to keep me straight. All of those things made me one with the ski again, like a ski boot. And then my skiing has improved back to where I'm above average skier, and some of the standing people can't keep up with me. I get yelled at, but my goal is to ski with my family. And I started skiing with my twins when they were 8 years old, and they're both going to be 20 now, and they're both really good skiers and snowboarders. So that was my goal. I was never wanting to be a racer. So, but to go, my most is 50 days out of a year.
That's great.
Skiing.
And that shows, just consistent skiing. Brent's out there all the time. He is not a racer. That was never the goal, but rather to get out and enjoy skiing with his family has been really important. This picture is not of Brent. This is of one of our longtime Winter Sports Clinic athletes, Ken, and he gave me permission to show his photo in his very custom system. You can see how well supported he is as a mid-thoracic with mid-thoracic paraplegia. And we just wanted to show you very quickly. This is just a way of doing custom seating, and this is in Joe's shop. So Joe, if you would just do a quick overview of kind of how this process works and how it has evolved.
Sure. Yeah. Boy, this dates the process.
Yeah.
A lot of things have really changed a bit, but basically this is the same, is that we need to capture a negative shape of the veteran first, So in the top left photo, there's impression foam that we used to use. Now we use a model bag inside of the shell. And what we're doing is just kind of pre-shaping there and then getting the veteran into the foam. And then we're just immersing them down into that sitting height that we took a pre-measurement on. Very critical to get athletes down as low as possible into these skis. If you're not, you're going to lose your whole center of balance. Everything's going to be off. So we're getting them way down in there, and then the process of filling that. Now we use a scanner and a carver, where in the past we used to fill that impression foam with plaster, and then smooth it up through an orthotic and prosthetic process. Fill that shell with our Brock slurry. Now it's so simple because we just carve them and then fit them into the shell, and then start the fitting process with the veteran. So you can tell, the veteran here, Ken, he still has a little bit of a shoulder lean to his right, and that's part of his injury, and that's also where his balance is too. So as therapists, we got to be just really, in clinicians, we got to be careful. Just because we don't see somebody straight, we could take Ken right out of skiing. So we have to let that really balance itself out, like Chad said. So, but then it's finishing everything up, getting it to the hill, and a lot of times, like Brent said too, it's a couple of 2 or 3 adjustments out there too. But the main thing, skin safety in the shop. We'll let somebody sit stable, not even moving in the shop, fully geared. It gets warm. You got to have your phone, and we do skin checks when people jump out. We look at skin. So.
Yep. Yeah, great overview, and the process has evolved a lot, but I had a great kind of series of photos of Ken. Just to highlight, here's his wheelchair. We've got to teach people to get in and out of these systems, and getting into a custom seat, it's going to lock you right in there. Practicing in and out is really important. This is the easy spot, right? On a nice level ground. We're going to take that outside, and we've got to be able to support individuals to learn how to transfer in and out of that ski while it's on a slippery, mushy, snow environment. And so that's really important as well. And you see that this is actually a snowboard underneath Ken, and that's not you saw him on the slopes where it's actually a more narrow ski, but this provides stability while we're indoors and letting folks have sitting time, that he's not going to have to spend a lot of effort holding himself up. So I really like that process going through there. We started with custom, right? And looking at this type of person who's skiing a lot might have a significant need for custom. The key issue is that as you're learning to ski and you're participating in various sports, you don't need custom to get started in most cases. And so there are some off-the-shelf options available. And I'm going to go, Chad, if you want to just give a brief overview of how we use the fit kit and what we're seeing with that pelvis on the hip pad.
Sure. The first picture there is the fit kit, and it's made by Aspen Seating. You can see they show the triangle shaped wedge in white there just so you can see it. But the point of that is to try to offer a little bit of elevation under the thigh rockers in order to decrease pressure on the ischial tuberosities that you can see with the pelvis there, so that rise helps to offload the pressure underneath the ischial tuberosities. And then you can see in the next picture on the upper side how it kind of fits in the shell there to provide that. We want to make sure that that thigh rocker is positioned in the right place so that it assists with changing the pressure locations within that shell. We don't want that triangle to be too far back. We want it just forward enough of the ischial tuberosities. And then you can see in the bottom picture, we're using what we call a hip guide. And it's a foam piece with a hole cut in the side, and we can slide that in so that when someone's in a shell that may be slightly too big for them, we can use that in order to tighten up the shell, get a nice solid fit, and then placing that hole right over the greater trochanter on the hip in order to prevent a pressure riser there on that hip pointer.
Yep, excellent. So this is just one option that's available for kind of an off-the-shelf approach. Works really well in a shell or bucket type situation, and hand cycles, any type of application can be very appropriate. Another example that we use as an off-the-shelf option, it's actually not a medical device and therefore is very cost effective. This is a product by Jackson Kayaks, and it actually is a kayaking cushion. We call it the Sweet Cheeks, or it's named the Sweet Cheeks. And so Jackson Kayak Sweet Cheeks is one option that we use. And Brent we talked about his very custom seating system for his ski, but Brent, tell us about where you like to use the Sweet Cheeks.
That keeps my balance just great in a kayak.
Yeah, kayak.
Perfect. I get down in there and suck the air out, and my balance there, and I can kayak most, for
Brent,
quite
can you
an extended
describe
time.
how it works? Like it's the inflated position versus the deflated with the
So
mold.
the hose there, you
Describe how
gotta
that works.
suck, you gotta release the air out of it. And it's definitely make sure you got your own
You gotta
hose.
suck
and
the
do
air
it
out.
yourself.
Yep.
Yep. But
It's like a
it works
beanbag.
well for
Like a
kayaking.
beanbag chair.
Yeah. Turn off all the phones when we're doing that adjustment. But what you can see is we start out, it's almost like a small bean bag that's very available in different volume of fullness of beads. And then as you suck the air out of it, pull the air out of it, you can move those beads around and create a semi-custom shape that will last a good half day. So I would recommend, after 2 or 3 hours, just adjust that again, make sure, but we can provide some skin protection, some postural support with a very reasonable approach for intermittent type of applications. So that's the Sweet Cheeks. We wanted just the final comment, moving into when is it appropriate to pursue your own equipment? And for those of you who have been able to see some of the presentations in these last couple of days, yesterday, Matt Lucas and Gus and Jeff Inouye did a great presentation on the different types of equipment that you'll see at the Winter Sports Clinic. And one of the key messages is that we have hundreds upon hundreds of pieces of equipment that can work for every individual, whether they're sitting or standing or have a visual impairment. We have the technologies that we use for visual impairment to help individuals. But we like to think about when we stick with this sitting athlete, and this is Wendy. I am using her picture with her permission as well. We work with Wendy for a couple of seasons and work with her therapists and her instructors to get her system just right. And this is her personal system, and you can see that she is independently using a bi-ski with her, instructors, just watching along and obviously having a great day with her. So when we look at, what are some of the ideas for when's it the right time to pursue your own equipment? So I'm going to go to Chad to just outline with skiing specifically, what are some of the things we want to be thinking about before someone starts thinking about their own equipment provided to them?
Sure. Yeah. I think, one of the most important things is you want to be able to ski by yourself. You want to ski independently on not just the very basic runs. You want to be able to be independent skiing intermediate runs or higher. It really doesn't do any good to have your own equipment if you're not able to load and offload the lift by yourself, because then you're going to be with an instructor or with a program that already has that equipment anyway.
Yep.
You want to be able to get up from a fall. If you need assistance getting up from a fall, you're going to be with an instructor or with a team of people to assist with that, and you wouldn't need that equipment. You want to be skiing all the time or on weekends if you're living in Colorado, or skiing in multiple trips if you're living someplace else. You want to be able to trial multiple different pieces of equipment. And so if you're still working on trialing that equipment or finding the right piece of equipment for you, it's not time to get that equipment just yet.
Right.
I like that you mentioned here unique seating needs, because we've had a couple of people that in order to trial equipment needed that custom seating just to be able to trial different pieces of equipment. But I think it's really important to realize that people need to be skiing a lot in order to be getting their own equipment. It's very difficult to travel with your own equipment. Maybe Brent can mention something about that, but you got to haul a lot of stuff around, and being able to do that, it's a hassle for some people, but it can be really beneficial if you're doing it a lot.
Great. Yeah, Brent, anything to add to that? Thanks, Chad.
I've got a good cart and I just bubble wrap mine. It's better to let the airlines see what they're handling than to put it in a case that they're going to throw around. I just shrink wrap my outriggers and my bucket all at once, and they're pretty bulletproof rigs. But any fragile pieces you do want to put extra padding on. But it's something you either have to have somebody with you, or if you're able to push it yourself, which I am, is a good thing to be able to do.
Thanks. And Joe, anything to add before we move on to see how well Brent skis?
I just wanted to add that the fit kit was actually made for the winter sports clinic. I thought that was I just wanted to add that. That was it.
Yeah, we needed some good systems out there, and it is now available nationwide, worldwide. We use it for a lot of different applications. So just to wrap up, we wanted to show you Brent on the hill and how well he has progressed. First winter sports clinic in 1995, and here he is recently. Oh, and it's not playing. Okay, you can listen to the music. There we go.
A couple of
You
turns.
guys seeing that now?
Yep.
So you see his control.
See, I'm
in that
balanced so
bucket.
well
Remember
now
that-
that I'm just tapping the outrigger. I'm letting the ski do the work.
Awesome.
And that took 3 years to get back to this point with the seating and just learning and getting braver and braver.
Yeah, and so remember, he's skiing very well. He's well connected to his system. He has his own ski, a very custom seating system. And remember that, Brent has shared along the way, he has T12 paraplegia and has bilateral hip dysarticulation. So he is locked in there with pelvis alone, nice abs and back extensors and really dialed in there. So thanks for sharing that, Brent. You look amazing out on the slopes, and we really have a great time skiing together. And that was where Brent said, I don't need you guys anymore. I'm good. Let's go skiing. And that's where we like to spend our time. Shameless plug.
Thank you all for this. This is why we're here, this seating clinic. Without it, I wouldn't be skiing this well. So.
That's right. Absolutely. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about similar applications for our veterans who use prosthetic limbs to participate. So please join us for that session as well, and bring your friends, family, veterans, bring them all. So there we go. As usual, we take it right up to the end. We will answer some chat messages, maybe a question or two that is really standing out if Sue wants to read those, and then we'll wrap it up and move on to the next section. Gentlemen, thank you for all that you do. Thanks for joining me at the Winter Sports Clinic and for taking excellent care of our veterans and each other. And thanks for sharing your knowledge and expertise and experience. I appreciate all of you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kendra, it looks like Val had a thing here where she was saying that sometimes that ski instructors or team leaders may be in a hurry to get people out into their ski bucket and out skiing. And, you know, why should we take that moment to make sure people are fitting into their ski rigs, even if it's not their personal equipment?
Joe, want to grab that one?
Yeah, so just that little bit of adjustment. First off, it's skin like we've always said, and then the next is if we can make it a better experience for that person going out there, and when they get out, if we can, because you want to take a look at the setup and the way they fit into, because a lot of times they're skiing the same rig. You can repeat it for the next day, and it goes just that much quicker for a really good outcome out on the hill. Just makes a difference. That fit is the difference between a good run and a bad run.
Yeah, makes all the difference in like learning how to ski or learning how to use an ice sled. Makes all the difference in the world. All right, and we'll take one more question, and then any questions that were not answered, we'll get the transcript and we'll be sure to get answers out to folks who had additional questions. So never fear.
So Kendra, I'm combing the chat, and mostly it's just high praise for you and your team. And then the one question that was just addressed. So just, I don't think we have any others, but you can look through those as well. But mostly it's just high praise, well earned for your team. So thank you, and thank everybody for participating today. And please join the rest of the sessions this week.
Yeah,
Perfect.
the event's been amazing. So dial in, great information. Again, thanks to my my partners in sharing this information. You know how to find us in Outlook for VA if you have questions or comments. And thanks so much for joining us today.